Today I'd like to introduce the one and only, the ultimate carry, the unique champion, Sylas. If you would be so kind and subscribe, I would really appreciate that. And now, let's get into the video. So, Sylas is a very versatile character, so there are a few options you can go for runes. Probably the best right now is going for Conqueror with Presence of Mind, because Sylas is has the possibility to go into those extended fights later on, thanks to his slow cooldowns. But and Conqueror really helps him with that and keeps you healthy. Presence of Mind, on the other hand, Sylas runs out of mana pretty fast, because he is using his ability so often. And thanks to Presence of Mind, you will have that self-sustain, and also it increases your mana, so it is really useful. Then you want to go for Tenacity, since neither of these two really grants you anything that much useful. Mostly Bloodline is completely waste on Sylas. And then you can possibly go for Coup de Grace, but if you're going for Conqueror, I believe that Last Stand is much better, since you will be able to dish out more damage overall. And for secondary runes, I really like to go for Domination because of sudden impact, which you gain stack from your W. You can also use your E, obviously. The W is not so obvious because it says that Cells is lunging, but it counts as a dash. So it will grant you a lot of damage. And Ravenous Hunter, because I guess that you could probably go for Relentless Hunter, but I believe that, again, you are going to be healing a lot, so this will grant you even more of that sustain. And lastly, for small runes, you want to go Ability Haste, Adaptive Force, and Armor or Magic Resist, depending on matchup. The other rune page is the Electrocute rune page, which may be slightly bit less powerful, but it definitely has its power. Electrocute is great mostly because in the laning phase early on you have extremely long cooldown, unlike when you are in the late game. Meaning that your way to fight, way you are fighting is just short, quick trades. And with Electrocute you will get that additional damage, and basically every time it's up you want to go in. And again, sudden impact. I love this rune on Sylas. Then you want to go for Eyeball Collection because it grants you most damage out of these three. And Sylas is a scaling champion, so you want to utilize that. And Ravenous Hunter I already discussed. For secondary runes, you have quite a few options. I usually go for Transcendence and Gathering Storm because of AP and, you know, Ability Haste because Sylas. Other option is to go for mana flow band, so you get some of the mana since you're not using some other options. And I personally am not a big fan of Mana Moon using on Sylas, so I have not tried it out yet. That's how you can say it. Other options are to go for uh, magical footwear and biscuits. So you will take biscuits, and other option is if you don't wanna uh, those boots and or you want to get them early, a really good thing is to go Cosmic Insight. And small runes stay the same, armor or magic resist, adaptive force and ability haste. And that is basically everything I can tell you about runes, and I'll see you with everything else in the game. So, for summoners and items. Basically, unless you are in a very bad line matchup, which I will be talking about later, you usually want to go for Ignite, so you are able to get that early kill once you hit level 3. That is usually when you want to go in and try to do something. Otherwise, if you feel like you will be getting poked a lot, you can go for TP and just try to survive the laning phase and maybe get some uh, ganks on other lanes. And yeah, that's basically it. You always want to go for Flash because it's universal summoner, and that's it. For items, there are much more options. I wouldn't necessarily recommend going for Corrupting Potion, even though it has great value for Sylas. Firstly, because it refunds a lot of mana for you, because you are really in problems, as I was saying before. So I usually like to go for the run string since it gives you that health and ability power and allows you to get that early trades. And it also allows you to go for some farm because without this you are actually so much worse, and that 5 physical damage actually helps Sylas a lot. Uh, Other option is to go for Tear of the Goddess, but I did not try this out yet. Basically, after you buy this, you just want to stack it, and once you have full stacks, you usually want to go straight up to Mora mana. But I can't say so much about this, so I can safely recommend going for Dawn's Ring. On your first back, if you have got that early kill, you usually want to go and buy Dark Seal. I personally hate buying Dark Seal on a lot of champions because you need to perform well, and this game is so random that anything can happen. Sylas is an exception because with him I feel like I can always at least keep up some of the stacks. Meaning that as long as you're not overstaying, you will always survive and will be able to keep them. So Dark Seal and once you get 10 stacks, Magi's are, in my opinion, a real good item. The first item you want to build is going to be, again, there are many options. But if you are going for the Conqueror Sylas, you will probably want to go for Everfrost, which first of the active will give you another CC, which is really nice. It gives you mana, health, ability power, and ability haste, which is extremely cool, and it works with Sylas really well. So this is probably the best mythic you can buy right now. If you're going for the Assassin Sylas, you can instead buy Ludens, which I usually prefer. But keep in mind that uh, keep in mind that oh my god. Keep in mind that Everfrost is probably the best option. After that, you will probably want to go for you always want to get boots. Maybe sometimes even before you finish your first item, you want to get at least basic boots. And then obviously best option is to go for sorcerers. If you are not going for the assassin, you can instead try and build boots of lucidity. But there is always the option of cosmic drive, which basically is the same thing but it's just better. So I usually don't even bother with them. They are really good for Sylas. They will give you a lot of CD reduction, but I don't really think that they're so powerful. On the other hand, if enemy team has one kind of damage, you can go for one of the tankier boots like plated steel caps or mercury threads. Mercury threads are probably going to be a better option instead of sorcerer shoes if there is that one kind of damage, because it gives you tenacity, and Sylas literally his only weakness is being CC'd, because even if they have ignite on you, they have anti-heal, your W will still heal you a lot. So going for Mercury threads is sometimes better than Sorcerer shoes with steel, so plated steel caps. That it's not that hot. Another extremely powerful item is going to be Sheen and straight into Lich Bane. If you're building Lich Bane, which in my opinion you always should, you always want to go for Sheen first because you will be using abilities a lot and you already are trying to mix it with your auto attacks. So Sheen and Lich Bane will make Sylas extremely deadly and it will add so much damage. And with that, next it usually depends on you. As I was saying before, going for Cosmic Drive is really strong because it gives you a lot of that ability haste and even increases your movement speed, which combined with Soul Stealer will make you extremely fast and you will have really good chases. Other option, extremely useful, is going for Zonias. Because Zonias are obviously great for any mage, but with Sylas you already do have low cooldown, so you can actually, if you are in a bad situation, just use your W, heal up, then go into Zonias, and then once you go out, your W should be already up again, so you can heal up for a second time. Meaning that Zonias are extremely powerful. This, in my opinion, is a really strong build. If you feel like you don't need that much CD and just want to burst down anyone you meet, you can possibly replace Cosmic Drive with Rabandon's Death Cap, which sometimes may work if, for example, you know that you want to get picks instead of just going into team fights and you have option to do so. You can definitely trade these two. But in my opinion, the mobility and ability haste of Cosmic Drive is also extremely strong. And that is going, those are going to be items for Sylas. Now we can go straight into abilities and some combos. I will try to make ability section a bit shorter today. So basically, your passive is every time you use an ability, you will gain increased attack speed and increased damage with that auto attack. The damage is always magical and scales both with AD and AP. Uh, every cast of the ability will grant you one stack. So for example, even if you steal, for example, Ares ultimate, every time you cast that ultimate, you will get a stack of your passive. This is very important because you can have maximum of 3 stacks. So you want to flesh out some auto attacks between your abilities, which is where the increased attack speed comes even more handy. Now into the abilities. First is your Q, which is a skill shot, which, as you can see, this center will be where you are targeting. Every enemy hit by the chains, which are shown by the lines, will be slowed, and after a short delay, the damage will be recasted in the circle right here, and that is basically it. This ability is actually really powerful if you use it right. You It can deal right now, as you can see, it deals almost 1000 damage. The problem is that the first cast does not have that high damage, and even if the enemies are slowed, they are usually able to get out of the main damage source, which is the explosion. This is why when you're, for example, chasing someone and you have the option to, you usually want to recast the ability behind them, so they can either stay and deal with you, or they have to walk into the 600 damage right now. This ability you usually want to get either on level 1 if you are playing in a hard matchup where you want to use it to farm and last hit minions instead of your normal auto attacks, or on level 2 where it usually is a better option than W, which I will talk about in a second. Now towards your W. Uh, this is an point and click ability. As I was saying, it says that Sylas launches at an enemy. It is in fact counted as a dash. Uh, it is really simple ability. You will want to up take it either on second or in my opinion, better on third level. And you will be maxing it first because not only do you deal extremely high damage just by pressing one button, you also gain that healing, which right now, as you can see, is 700 health if I'm below 40%. Meaning that you are extremely powerful thanks to this ability. It has actually a really low cooldown, and you can really turn fights around. And yeah, that's basically it. Problem with this ability is that early on it does have the damage, but it does not really have that much range. And I pretty much like to usually go for Q and E first, because not only does E grant you one more stack of your passive, but they allow you to stay safe until you're level 3, and with Q you can possibly weaken your enemy. So I just like to weaken them with these two, and then once I hit level 3, I just like to upgrade my W and go straight in and kill them. And now E. You usually want to take it on a first level in your you usually want to take it on first level as your against melee champions. Against range champions, you probably want to go for Chain Lash. There are few options. For example, if you know you are going against something really weak or like, for example, Veigar, I usually just like to go into a bush, and if Veigar is out of minion wave, so he's not standing right in the middle of the minions, I usually just like to go if I'm on right side, I even usually go over the wall and then chain onto him. I will talk about it later. Or if they are sometimes champions are just standing on side, so I just hope that they will be on my side and just quickly try to dish onto them, get off my electrocute. Let's actually show that. Let's say that Twigger is standing right here. I just E onto him, get off 2 stacks, and electrocute. So you will be able to deal high damage, and then I just run onto my side of the map and drop minion aggro. It is, in my opinion, pretty cool. If you are going against heavy poke, I would not really recommend it since they are really safe. And if you would not notice yet, E is basically 2 dashes. First off is a dash that can obviously go over walls, as you would see before. It's a fixed distance, and the other one is a chain lash, where you will stun and knock up an enemy for a first enemy hit for a short distance and go towards him. Cool thing about that is that once the chain has selected a trajectory, it will always go there. So you can move while the chain is moving and try to dodge some skill shots. For example, really cool thing is that you can, for example, dash, and while you're Eing, you can W towards an enemy to dodge some abilities. For example, I can't think of anything right now. Let's say that you're dodging Ash ultimate, right? So you can dash in, and they may not consider you that much of a threat, but you can simply. Okay, this was really weird. I have no idea what just happened. You can simply dodge abilities with other things you have, and then you will be dragged towards the target. This also works with flash, so again, you're dodging something, you can just dash to the side and you will still go to the same place. Sometimes if you're sure you will hit the ability and both you and your enemy are low on health, you can actually try to go backwards so they can't damage you before the E hits, like this. And that's basically everything I can tell you about this. And now, Sylas' Opus Magnum, his ultimate. You will obviously steal ultimate of any enemy uh, that you can target. I don't really think that there's that much I can say about this in this video. I will just probably right now show you my favorite ultimates, and if you go in the description you have a link to a table I made which basically rates the ultimates you should prefer and ones you should avoid. Only thing I other about that I will tell you is that even though some ultimates on the list are obviously a good choice, sometimes it's better to take some weaker ones. For example, let's just say that if you would take Trindamir's ultimate, it is obviously really powerful and not being able to die is a great thing. Like every champion would want that, right? But sometimes if you just need to CC all the enemies, it's better to go, for example, for Yona's ultimate. So you gotta you gotta know what is good when. For example, I've recently had a game with Nico and Yasuo, and Nico's ultimate is obviously much better because, well, she is just a powerhouse. The ultimate deals extreme amounts of damage and stuns enemies. Yasuo is not that good, firstly because you have for scaling, but we had a Malphite. So when Malphite was able to hand a 2 3-man ultimate, I had that Yasuo's ultimate, which was able to follow up with that. So you gotta work with your team on this one. And last thing I can say about this, it maybe does not seem like that, but this traveling distance, you can see, is really important because, for example, Yasuo's Wind Wall can block your ultimate. Someone going untargetable, or even when someone uses Zonias, it will cancel out your ultimate steal and it will go on cooldown. So count on that not always will you be able to hijack someone. And now we can go into some combos. So first off is the level 3 combo. You usually want to use when you're trying to kill someone. You usually want to, well, basically you want to E into a position, Q your target, recast your E, and then they are stuck on that place for that short time. Your second Q will go off, then you want to auto attack them because you are standing on top of them. If they try to flash or go or just walk away, you will W to them and then keep auto attacking as long as you have stacks. It should kill them. You can add ignite so you can confirm the kill. And basically it looks something like this. And that's your level 3 combo. You will probably be able to use it even on later levels. Really important part is the EQ, which I just missed, but no one will care about it, right? Anyways, uh, on higher levels, you can go. This is a combo which you usually want to go when you're actually chasing someone and you're not really worried. So yeah, it's basically a chaser combo. So you want to E towards them, auto attack. W, auto attack. Second T, auto attack, and then you want to use your Q if you still need to. This basically means that you will be on top of your opponent all the time, because every time, basically everything you will use will be a dash, because you will E once, you deal damage, W, deal damage, E, deal damage, and then you have your Q, which will slow them, and your W, since it has 4-second cooldown, will be up really shortly, so you can recast it again and just keep going. And that is basically it. Then you got obviously some really quick all-ins, like for example you want to E into distance, then you want to W your opponent, E, and then Q. And this is basically like the fastest damage you can get. Uh, yeah. If you are using Everfrost, you can sometimes use it, as I was talking about the level 3 combo, where you Q opponent and then do this all. You can use your... Oh, I will buy it and actually trying to explain it. You can go in and E towards your opponent, then use Everfrost, Q them, E them, and then W them. So you will, again, you will ensure your Q even more, because the CC will be extremely long with these two. And you can actually even go behind your opponent and to wait with your W, unless you are really sure that you don't need it to chase them and you can just go in full on. And that is basically everything to combos. Now a bit about laning. So, you are extremely weak when you're laning. You usually will have to give up a lot of farm and just hope that you will be able to kill the enemy. You can try to get everything you can without going too low on health, and try to trade, so you have higher chance of actually killing the enemy later on. Just don't let them do damage to you if you can avoid it. You will usually be able to trade once you hit level 3, and that's what you are trying to achieve. There are some exceptions to this. For example, if your laning opponent is either making mistakes, or you know that he does not have that great time early too, you can try to utilize this. For example, right now you can see a Z who first off they did a really terrible invade, and the guy then let me hit my combo. Not only that, he is also using Dark Harvest, which doesn't grant him anything. And here you see his last mistake. I already have 3 damage on him, and he just used his W just to try to deal some damage to me. So he had to burn his flash, and it was good for nothing. And right now I am a Sylas. I have won. I have got a kill, which is almost the same thing. And I can start snowballing, because Sylas is extremely snowbally champion. Which, as you can see later, results into this. Now, if you get rolling, enemies might try to stop you, but they don't realize that you have amazing healing combined with damage and some kind of a reasonable CC. So if they come one by one, you will become the 1v5 character in like 5 kills. So pretty much like try to stay once the laning phase is over. Feel like you can do it. The silence. And then you can do your typical split. Sylas does not have that great damage to tower, but considering that you can use your FU anytime and use empowered ultimates to defend the tower, you will be able to get either 1v1s or let your team get kills. In fight, I would engage once you are really into late game, so you can utilize your low cooldown ultimate and possibly turn them around with anything they can have. Now, for the matchups. My number one ban is Orianna. Probably Sylas' worst matchup is Anivia. Reason for that is that she has extremely good poke, and her passive allows her to survive your burst in the early levels since you have really long cooldowns and pretty low mana. And more importantly, you can't use her ultimate to do anything since she can just she uses her ultimate to empower her other abilities, right? Uh, Orianna does have a better ultimate. Orianna does deal a bit lower damage, but if she goes phase rush, which is pretty common these days, she can still run away from you once you use your grab closers, and she is basically much more common. I ban her because she is more common than Anivia. And that is basically going to be everything. One last thing I could mention is try to be careful to target your ultimate hit. Because, for example, Darius has a game-changing, terribly frightening ultimate, but you don't have his passive, so you will deal minimal damage. And try to think about what each champion does with his ultimate, so you can become the Lord of the Lord of the Rift. I don't have this here. Well, anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something new, and Petri out.